Oh, hi everyone. My name's Dan Arps. Today I thought that it would be interesting to talk about not the show that's upstairs. The show upstairs called Explaining Things. I thought I'd talk about another installation that I did a wee while ago called Explaining Things at a gallery called Gambier Castle. Can everybody hear me? No? No? Should I use this? That's too loud.
That's great.
That's way too loud. Does that work?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about this project, Explaining Things at Gambier Castle. This project, just in brief, was kind of conceived as an experiment in trying to move away from materiality and real things, and trying to make work that really just deals with information and manipulating information and manipulating people's bodies somehow into having an experience, rather than having like an object that you look at and is static and you kind of contemplate it or something. Explaining Things was also a experiment in having a show that's almost nothing but, it's really nothing but framing devices as I see it. Like nothing really stands alone. Everything's supposed to have an impact on everything else in the show, and everything should change your understanding of everything else. And at every point, with this project, the idea was that something would come along and explain everything and make everything kind of snap into place and make perfect sense. And it would be a kind of revelatory kind of experience. That was my hope anyway. So anyway, the first thing that anyone saw of this project was this diagram. This is actually the invitation to the show. It was mailed out to everyone on the mailing list at Gambier Castle. There were a few people who got caught out by this because it was actually the invitation to the show, and there's no information on there saying that it's my show, or saying what the title of the show is, or where the show is at. It's just a diagram, and what it shows is I think what it shows is that what we're conscious of is just like the tip of the iceberg, or the kind of the corner of the wedge, where it has this line here. Everything on this side of the line is the real world that we kind of deal with. What we see, what we hear, what we feel. Everything on this other side of the line is below the surface, and we can't have any direct access to it. But I'm not sure if it's a misreading, but I always thought of this diagram as showing where our knowledge comes from, or where our understanding comes from. And it's really, if we think about it that way, it's really wrong-headed. It's like we don't get our understanding from outside of ourselves. It sort of flows in, I don't know, sort of like wedges into the back of our heads or something. It comes from nowhere. And that idea that knowledge comes from nowhere as a sort of a central sort of, trying to think of the right word. Sometimes I use the word meme, so like a central meme, or maybe it's a trope. I don't know. I never quite figured out how all those things worked out. but it's a meme or a trope, repeats itself throughout the show. And it was kind of, I kind of thought it was an interesting kind of test. If you've seen this thing out as this diagram out with the intent that it's a specific piece of information that you're supposed to get, I reckon if someone manages to turn up to the show after being sent this invitation, it's proof that the diagram works. Okay, so the next thing that you'd see to do with this show is there's a note taped to the door. There it is there. And I just thought, I don't know, it's just sort of there really to it's a framing device. It changes your perception of the space. It can be a castle for those of you who haven't been there. It's quite a small room. Kind of feels like somebody's lounge or something. And this note was just really helping to establish the space as a private space, basically. It's somebody lives there or somebody does something there. The other thing that you can't see in this picture is I actually nailed the door open about maybe 1.5 feet. So if you wanted to see the show, you're going to have to squeeze through this narrow gap. So deciding to go in was maybe it was a decision that had to be made rather than something that just automatically happened. Okay. So this is the show. This is what the show looked like. Of course, when you have a photograph of a space, you can't see what's behind here. So there's some more stuff be behind your head in the wedge. But there was some videos and there's some other works. We'll have a look at those. But so you come in through the door, and there's this owl. Hang on, we've got a picture of the owl here. Yeah. There's a picture of the owl. The owl's changed slightly in the new version of the work. It's lost its baggage, which I think is quite nice. Maybe that happens over time.